Guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited today. Here's why. So, okay, I'm just loving this. I mean, this His Word Unveiled, whether you're enjoying this as much as I am or not, this is doing so much for me. I am learning so much. I am growing so much, and I am so happy that I chose to just obey in my weakness and out of my inadequacies, to just obey and to listen to the voice of the Lord. You know, this has nothing to do with, hey, I'm doing this for you guys. The Lord knew that I needed this. He asked me to do this for me. And if you guys are getting anything out of it, then yes, that is just an added extra bonus. So praise God, He's so good. But I am learning so much. Okay, so I had this video completely done for chapter 6 and 7, had it done. And then I heard Father's voice say, Melissa, slow down. I want you to read it again. And so I read chapter 6, I read chapter 7, and then I couldn't stop. And I ended up reading the entire book of Job. Then I read the entire book of Job again. I can't even, I lost track of how many hours I have been in the Word. Wow, though, wow, just wow. So last year, this is like my 6th time reading through chronologically, like straight through in the Word. And I am just now understanding things. I'm just now seeing things. So with that, be encouraged with just that whatever you're learning, don't be intimidated by the Word. Don't be intimidated and feel like you have to understand everything that is written out. You know, the second that the Lord gives you something or reveals something to you or shows you or gets you stuck on just a verse, like, oh, that's a good verse, and you want to dig in deeper, he gives you a vision even from that verse. Whatever it is, however small it is, grab a hold of that. Grab a hold of that truth. Let it sink in so deep in your heart and run with it. Even if it's one verse. Shoot, even if it's one word. Run with it. And in His timing, He will reveal to you what He wants you to see, what He wants you to take in. You know, God is all about just being patient with us so that it is authentic, so that it is intimate. He is not going to overwhelm us with this crazy amount of information that's just too heavy, that's too overwhelming, that we'll just take and be like, oh, that's cool, and move on. That's not how God works. He is so intimate with us. He is so personal with us. He is so real with us. So everything, you know, if we're ready, He'll give it to us and He'll lay it out. But He wants everything that He shows us for it to stick, for it to be branded, for us to be branded with His truth, with that truth that He reveals to us. So He will take us slow as He needs to go with us, but just embrace every moment. So last year, I got this understanding on what the book of Job was. You know, I've heard from so many people, it was always my perspective. You know, people always use the book of Job, like, oh, he endured so much suffering. Oh, you're suffering? You should read the book of Job. And we've had this, I've heard this just go around, like, Job suffered so much and he never cursed God, and he dealt with it well, and that's what this book is about, is understanding suffering, that it sometimes happens when we don't do anything wrong, and you know, that whole concept. There's so much more to Job. The message goes so much deeper. There is so much more beauty and power and truth in Job. And guys, the ending, like how Job ends. Shut up. It's so good. It's so good. So please don't get bored or just impatient with all of these chapters. The majority of the chapters in Job is just a friend says this and Job responds. Another friend says this and Job responds. The first friend says this and Job responds. It's back and forth. But all of these chapters, all of these conversations, it leads into wow at the end. And this overall message that can change our lives. It will change your life. It is changing my life. I'm excited. I'm so excited that you are joining me today, that you are watching this video today. Though all of that, you know, the overall thing is not going to come out today, keep walking with me and keep just taking a hold of everything along the way so that when we get there, he will just blow this thing up. And hopefully by then, I'll learn even that much more. Here we go. Wow, I don't even know where. I'll just, let me pray, and then I'll start recapping a little. Father, thank you for being so faithful. Thank you for just giving us truth, just giving us more and more and more, and always being available, and always speaking, and always moving, and always pouring out. Father, help us to receive what you have for us. Help us to see what you want revealed to us. Lord, we love you, and we thank you for being truth. We thank you for giving us just the abundance of who you are, and laying things out for us to just grab a hold of and allow them to sink in so powerfully. In Jesus' name. Okay, so recapping. Oh, I'm so excited. Recapping. So Job just loses everything that he has. Everything he has. In chapter 3, we see this just rawness. Job just laying out, I'm suffering. I loathed the day that I was born. This is unbearable pain. He's just in agony, and he just speaks it in words that expresses that clearly reveal that, just so deep. Then we see in the last 2 chapters, our last videos, we see that Eliphaz, one of his friends, that he gives an opinion of how or why he thinks Job is suffering. And he says the reason why all the suffering is happening, Job, is because you have sinned. And you need to deal with it, and you need to make it right, and you need to just admit what it is, and then you'll be restored, you'll be blessed, and God will do this. But the reason you're suffering is because you've sinned. So we are going to jump into chapters 6 and 7, and this will be Job's response to Eliphaz, to his statement of saying sin is causing your suffering. Okay. So Job lays, we saw in chapter 3, like we said. Oh, I am so sorry. Hit that pause button and read. This is so important for you guys to read through, because I am not able to read word for word with you, just because of the time we have. I don't want to overwhelm you with being hour-long videos or anything. So, but what I would encourage you to do is read through the entire book of Job if you want. If you want to read through all of it and just get an understanding, because sometimes reading through with these conversations through the book of Job, sometimes it's hard to really pull out what is going on, what they're really saying. If they're being sarcastic, if they're being for real, if this is a healthy outpouring of hurt and pain, or if this is too much about self. It's so hard to pick up on those things until you read the overall thing of Job. That's okay if you don't want to read all of it before discussing. We can just work our way there. But if you would like, read the whole book of Job and then come back and watch these videos separately. Whatever you choose to do. But either way, I would like for you to read word for word in your own time, chapters 6 and 7. That will be what we are discussing now. Okay, so getting into that, so this is his reply. We saw in chapter 3, like I said, that he was laying out his pain. Chapter 6, he's back at it again. And in response to that, he's laying out very clearly, hey, this isn't because of sin. This isn't because of sin. I completely disagree with you, Eliphaz. Thanks, but no thanks, pretty much. But what he is starting to do, what we're starting to see in chapter 6, is that he starts playing the woe is me game. He starts throwing out the victim card and putting a little bit too much emphasis on his suffering, and getting into a little bit of pride. We see in verse 4, chapter 6, verse 4, for the arrows of the Almighty are within me. Their poison my spirit drinks. The terrors of God are arrayed against me. We see in verse 8, oh, that my request might come to pass, and that God would grant my longing. Would that God were willing to crush me, that he would loose his hand and cut me off. So he's just going back to what he was saying in chapter 3, and death is sounding pretty good right now. If God would just, stop torturing me and just let me die. We saw even in 4, he's saying, this is God. God is against me. God is doing this to me. Why is he doing this to me? Reassuring Eliphaz that it's not because of his sin. So, the fact that he does not deserve what's happening. We see in verse 10, but it is still my consolation, and I rejoice in unsparing pain, that I have not denied the words of the Holy One. We see that and we're like, yeah, Job is staying legit with all of this. He's rejoicing in his pain. He's not denying the words of the Holy One. That's easy to look at that, but reading this chapter and reading how he is just starting to puke this out in a really just unhindered way, we see that this is starting to turn into pride. That it's, no, this isn't because of my sin and God is against me. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. And getting in that pit, stuck in that. Jumping down to verse 24. Teach me and I will be silent, and show me how I have erred. How painful are honest words. But what does your argument prove? So he's talking to Eliphaz. Do you intend to reprove my words? When the words of one in despair belong to the wind, you would even cast lots for the orphans and barter over your friend. Now please look at me and see if I lie to your face. Desist now, let there be no injustice. Even desist, my righteousness is yet in it. Is there injustice on my tongue? Cannot my palate discern calamities? That's how chapter 6 ends. So he's just saying, look, you tell me what I've done wrong. If you think this is sin, tell me what it is. Because I haven't erred. I've been blameless in all of this. And we see this pride coming in, where he hears this, and he is starting to defend himself in this sense, like, this isn't about me. God's against me, even when I've done nothing wrong. And we see this start to creep in and start shaping this season of his life, that he is allowing this to go a little too far. Then in chapter 7, Job is just being really raw and open again, just with where he's at, with how he feels about life. And it is starting to turn into just a little bit too much of this focus on himself, a little bit too much complaint. And this pride is really coming out more and more, and this continuing of defending himself. Let's see. Let's go down to verse 11. Therefore I will not, this is chapter 7, verse 11. Therefore I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. So he's saying, I'm not restraining with this. I'm going to keep complaining because I don't deserve this. It's almost like this, justifying what's going, like in total defense. Like he is defending himself in this way where he's saying, this is not because of me. God is against me in this. I don't deserve this, so I will speak in the anguish. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Just defending, like, I have a right to speak this. I have a right to complain about this. And we see that pride coming in. We see that focus on self, that defending himself. Jumping even to verse 20. Have I sinned? And this is when he's speaking to the Lord in this. Have I sinned? What have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you set me as your target, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me, but I will not be. So he is going at God saying, why are you doing this to me? Have I sinned? Have you seen me sin? Have I not been blameless? Have I not been right in all my ways? Have I not been who you said I was and turning away from evil? Have I not? So why are you doing this to me? It's almost like this, like, I'm taking this to you, God, and I want to find out why you're doing this to me and why this is happening to me in my life. Guys, this is a crazy, dangerous place to be. Like, dangerous place to be where he's at, and we'll see it further more and more in the other chapters that we're reading. But wow, just wow, like he is getting stuck in this. And maybe in some other videos, I'll share even a little bit of my story, because my whole thing goes back to what my sin was the sin of suffering. And that's all I'm going to say in this video, but stick with me in my other videos, and that'll come out, and I'll explain that. I'll explain what I mean by that. And man, the story of Job just really speaks to me. It really does, especially now that God is just laying out more truths and an understanding of what this is, and what we can really grab from this and learn from. So that is all I got out of chapter 6 and 7. I encourage you to go back and read through and see, just see and pay attention to the way that he words things, and the way that you just sense this frustration and this sense of I've done nothing wrong, so why is this happening? And really really put yourself in Job's position, and really reflect on where you're at and how you deal with suffering, and how this may be, how it may compare. So read through that, keep praying through. There's still so much more truth, and it just builds. It keeps building with where he's at. He keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper into some of this really dangerous stuff. So stick with me. Jump back onto the next video. So excited. The best is yet to come. There's just more and more, and the lesson behind all of this, the message, I'm telling you guys, it's just exciting me like crazy. So stick with me. Thank you for watching today, and jump on my other videos and just keep walking with me. So I'll see you soon. Thanks.